This place isn't right for someone like you, my eldest son's wife sneered. You're just a middle school graduate, and it's embarrassing for you to be here. You're a poor woman living off a pension. I want nothing to do with you, so why don't you just leave? Her cruel words finally made me lose my patience. After years of putting up with their arrogant behavior, I was filled with anger. I started to respond, if you just shut up and listen. But before I could finish, my second son's wife, who looked pale, interrupted, Oh Mary, don't tell me you don't know. My name is Sally and I'm about to turn 62. Even though I'm old, I've managed to live a healthy life. Since graduating from junior high school, I've spent my time working hard and raising my children, and suddenly, here I am at this age. 5 years ago, my beloved husband passed away suddenly and it was a tough time. But with the support of those around me, I managed to get through it. Now, I'm working a little bit, taking over my husband's business. Although there are some small challenges, the work is going well and I'm satisfied with it. But something else has been bothering me lately. One day there was a knock on my door. It was a delivery, a single sealed envelope, and a beautiful floral arrangement. The flowers came with a card that said, Happy Birthday. The sender was my second son, Tyler. Tyler has always been a carefree and easygoing person, but last year he married Ariana, who is firm and thoughtful. She must have arranged the flowers. They live about an hour's drive away, and they visit occasionally, showing their concern and inviting me on trips with them. I called Ariana to thank her. She said, Happy birthday, I heard you like flowers. I hope you're well and I look forward to seeing you again. She's such a wonderful wife, better than Tyler could have hoped for. But then there was the other sealed letter. The sender of the letter was Tom, my eldest son. When I opened it, I found a birthday card. Tom, who got married shortly before Tyler, isn't the type to do this on his own, so it must have been his wife Mary. Mary, my eldest son's wife, has always been a big concern for me. She's proud of being highly educated and working for a large company. She has a strong personality and, to be honest, she's quite arrogant. She judges people based on their education and the companies they work for. If someone is below her standards, she immediately belittles them. Because I only graduated from junior high school and have been working since, she looks down on me. From the beginning, I knew she didn't think much of me, but as time passed, she became more and more arrogant. She would come over to my house unannounced and demand that I cook for her, saying she was tired from work. She even asked me for money behind Tom's back, even though she doesn't need it because Tom is in management at a restaurant chain, so money isn't an issue for them. Still, I love Tom. He's soft-spoken and a bit fragile, much like my late husband. I put up with Mary because she married him, but it hurts, and I don't feel good about it. But since she sent me a birthday card, I thought I should at least thank her, so I called Mary. When she answered, she said, Hello, I'm tired from work, so please make it quick. I replied, You sent me a card for my birthday, didn't you? I wanted to thank you for that. Oh, you got it. I'm so glad. By the way, there's a dinner party with your relatives coming up, isn't there? Please dress decently so I won't be embarrassed, she said. Yes, thank you anyway, I replied. She quickly said, Yes, well then, bye, and hung up. She didn't even say a word of congratulations, but that's typical of Mary. I sighed and wondered if there was anything I could do. A few weeks later, there was a dinner party with my relatives. My niece, whom I've loved since she was a little girl, was getting married. She's a cousin of Tom and Tyler. Since they weren't having a wedding, they decided to hold a dinner party to introduce her husband to the family. They invited me, Tom, Mary, Tyler, and Ariana. I was walking with Tyler and Ariana, who had arrived earlier, through the courtyard where the dinner party was being held. The weather is nice today, isn't it? I said. You look great in your kimono, and it fits perfectly with this courtyard. The place looks really nice today, and I haven't been here in a long time. I wish I had worn a kimono too. It's such a fancy restaurant, I said. Oh, come on, I can't afford to buy you an expensive kimono just for a place like this, Tyler replied. I know, I'm just saying, I said with a smile. As we were chatting, Tom and Mary, my eldest son and his wife, arrived late. Hello, wow, you dressed properly today, Mary commented. You don't have to say it like that. Tom tried to stop her, but Mary was clearly unhappy. It's almost time to go in, I said, and we all went inside the restaurant. About 30 relatives had gathered, and many of them came over to greet me. Standing a little distance away, Mary whispered, She's very well liked, isn't she? Is it out of pity? I heard her, but I pretended not to and took my seat. My niece and her fiancé greeted everyone, and after a toast, the dinner party began. I had expected the restaurant to be more rural, but the food was surprisingly impressive. They even had a good selection of sake. Mary seemed to enjoy herself, eating one dish after another and drinking plenty of sake. The dinner went on peacefully, with everyone celebrating my niece's marriage. I was relieved to see that my niece's fiancé seemed like a solid person. During the conversation, one of the relatives said, "I heard you graduated from Key University and now work for a famous bank." "Yes, I did. I'm grateful to my parents for helping me go to college," my niece's fiancé replied humbly. "So far, so good. Key University, huh? Well, I graduated from the university and I'm a chief executive at a big company." Mary suddenly jumped into the conversation, even though no one had asked her. She was eager to boast about her educational background and the company she worked for. "Hey, stop it." Tom tried to calm her down, but Mary ignored him. "After all, in this day and age, academic background is very important, isn't it?" Mary continued. "No, I don't think so. There are many respectable people regardless of their academic background," my niece's fiancé responded firmly, but Mary didn't stop. "Well, I'm sure you, who went to Key University, understand that there are things only educated people can grasp. I guess you know what I mean. People without education are just low-level," Mary added, making my niece's fiancé feel uncomfortable. "Hey, you've had too much to drink." Tom and Ariana desperately tried to calm Mary down. Tom looked at Mary like she was someone he didn't recognize, and the other relatives were just as shocked. "If you don't have an education, you can't get a good job, and you won't make money. You know what I mean, right, Sally?" Mary suddenly asked me, but I already knew what she was going to say. "I don't know, Mary. You've had too much to drink. Maybe you should step outside and get some air," I replied calmly, but this only made her angrier. "What's wrong with you, Mary? You're being a bit harsh," I said, trying to keep the peace. But Mary shot back, "Did you just tell me to leave? I'm a college graduate, and you're just a junior high school graduate. I don't get it." Tom tried to stop her, but I signaled him with my eyes to let her speak. If this was going to happen, it was better to let it all out. "Mary, if you have something to say, just say it," I told her. She sneered and said, "Well, let me tell you something. If I were you, I'd be too embarrassed to show up in front of the relatives because you're just a middle school graduate with no qualifications." All the relatives, including my niece and her husband, were watching us closely. Mary continued, "I haven't seen you work much since your husband passed away. You're unemployed, and at 62, that's nowhere near retirement age where I work. We work hard as elite managers." Mary, who was the sole provider, seemed to be enjoying herself as she went on. "You didn't even go to high school or get any qualifications. That's why you're in this situation. Don't you think it's pathetic? I definitely don't want to end up like you. I work for a big company, not like you." Her words stunned everyone, even the staff serving the food. Then she delivered the final blow, saying, "A middle school graduate like you doesn't belong in a place like this. It's embarrassing. You're just a poor person living on a pension. I don't want anything to do with you, so why don't you leave?" Mary's cruel words finally broke my patience. All the anger I had been holding back came rushing to the surface. I felt a surge of rage, and my eyes welled up with tears that I fought to keep from falling. "Hey, just shut up and listen," I started to say, but before I could finish, Ariana, looking very pale, interrupted. "Oh, Mary, don't tell me you don't know." Mary looked confused. "Know what?" she asked, looking around at the relatives. Some looked bitter, some were really angry, and others looked down on her. Tom covered his eyes and slumped down in his seat. "What? What the hell?" Mary demanded, and Ariana answered in a trembling voice, "Sally is the owner of this restaurant." There was a moment of silence. "What? Don't make me laugh. What are you talking about?" Mary snickered, but then the chef and some employees rushed over to me. "Boss, are you all right? She's a wonderful person. Do you even know what you're saying?" One of the employees shouted angrily at Mary. Mary turned to Tom. "Tom, what's this all about?" Tom sighed. "Nothing. It's just as they said. It's true." "What? What are you talking about? You've never told me this before," Mary exclaimed. Tom explained, "Dad and Mom started this restaurant and she took over after him. But she wasn't in the best position to run the business by herself, so now she lends her name to someone else to manage it. But it's true, she's the owner." "Why didn't you tell me?" Mary demanded. "If I had told you, you would have started talking nonsense about getting the restaurant or the property. I wanted to leave my mother alone, especially after my father's death. Besides, as soon as you learned about my mother's education, you looked down on her and weren't interested." Mary, still not convinced, scoffed, "How can a junior high school graduate run such a fancy restaurant? The business must be going downhill, and even the house is old. They're poor, right?" Tyler, who had been listening, finally spoke up. "My mother prefers to keep things simple. The house is full of memories of my father. She also owns a condo near the station and other properties that she and my father bought together. To be honest, she probably earns a lot more than you do." Mary was stunned. "What? What the hell are you guys talking about?" But before anyone could say more, someone quietly stepped in, signaling that it was time to end the conversation. A calm voice rang out. Standing there was a man, one of the relatives, but not much older than me. He was dressed in an elegant suit. "What's the matter with you, old man? Don't talk to me. Who are you, huh?" Mary snapped, but when she looked at the man's face, her expression turned pale. "Do you know who I am?" "No, no way, Executive Director," she stammered. This man was a cousin of my husband and seemed to be the managing director at Mary's company. I had no idea that one of her relatives was such a high-ranking employee at her workplace. "I'll be honest," the executive director continued calmly, "you don't have a good reputation in the company. I've heard that you're very critical of other employees and treat your subordinates differently based on their academic backgrounds. This has caused significant problems in your projects. If you treat your relatives this badly, it must be even worse at work. I'll be looking into this, and I'll make sure my report is properly scrutinized. You will likely be demoted or worse." Mary looked like she was about to faint, but the executive director didn't stop. "You should know that this behavior isn't acceptable." "Please, executive director, please don't do this," Mary begged, but Tom stepped in, grabbing her by the shoulders. "That's enough, Mary. If you had been honest from the start, this wouldn't have happened. But now you've ruined an important event and caused problems at work. More than anything, I can't be with you anymore after the way you spoke to my mother, who worked so hard to raise us." Tom's voice was firm, and I could feel tears welling up as Tyler gently held my shoulders and Ariana cuddled me close. "What the hell? Everyone is protecting this middle-aged woman. There's no way I'm getting divorced and demoted. This is ridiculous," Mary ranted, clearly distraught. The executive director spoke quietly but firmly. "You can't stay here any longer. You should leave now." "I agree," my niece said, her voice steady. "This is an important place for us, and my aunt is an important person. We don't want this occasion to be ruined. Please leave us alone." Mary was stunned, but she left the room with an employee escorting her. Tom turned to the rest of us and said, "Everyone, I'm sorry about my wife." My niece rubbed my arm and reassured me, "Don't worry about it. I love you and everyone here loves you. Besides, that lady won't be your daughter-in-law anymore." "Yes, she won't. Don't worry," others chimed in, offering comfort. "Sally, I respect you," Ariana said softly as she leaned in close. Tom then added, "Yes, I'll be happy once I'm divorced from her." I was surprised and said, "Tom, I can't believe you're divorcing because of me." Tom shook his head. "It's not just that, Mom. I'm really sorry for everything I've done. From now on, I'll be a better son to you and Dad." He placed his hand on my shoulder, and we all started to feel calmer. We were able to finish the dinner without any more problems. A few months later, Tom and Mary got divorced. Mary tried to make a big deal out of it and went to family court to ask for alimony, but her claim was denied. The managing director later told us that an internal investigation at her job revealed how poorly she was behaving at work. Even though she was proud of her education and job, her behavior got her transferred to a small branch office in another prefecture, which was technically a demotion. Then something unexpected happened. Tom announced that he wanted to take over the restaurant. I had never pushed my children to take over the family business because I wanted them to follow their passions. But I did feel a bit sad at the thought of handing over the restaurant, which I had inherited from my husband, to someone else. Tom looked serious when he told me, "The restaurant is filled with the love and passion of Dad and you." I really wanted to take it over, but I thought I couldn't handle it, so I worked for a restaurant chain instead. But when I saw how much your employees love you, I decided I wanted to protect the restaurant that you and Dad built. I smiled and said, "Thank you, Tom, but there's a lot you need to learn and study before you take over. I'll guide you and teach you everything I know, so do your best." Tom started working with me at the restaurant, and I became busy training him. A year later, on my 63rd birthday, Tom and I were waiting in front of our house when Tyler's car arrived. "Sally, happy birthday." Ariana called out joyfully as she got out of the car. Tyler gently took a baby out of the car seat in the back and held him. "Welcome. It's so nice to see the three of you," I said with excitement. They had a baby, and I finally got to be a grandmother to a lovely grandchild. Now it's time for me to fully hand over the restaurant business to Tom, who has worked hard in his training and is ready to take it over this year. As I watch him grow into a full-fledged restaurant chef, I secretly hope he finds someone special to share his life with.